It's time for yet another video in the series of diesel tractor updates. This is like the 17th video, and all I can seem to come up with for a title is diesel tractor update because it's an update about the diesel tractor. If I had known I was going to do this many videos, I probably would have made them a series. Perhaps I will go back and retitle them to reflect that. However, today is a pretty significant day because today we are scheduled to go to Street Diesel Performance and pick up the gauges for the tractor. So they are Autometer Cobra series, and they are there's going to be an oil pressure, coolant temperature, and I wanted one that said transmission temperature, but unfortunately come to find out that these gauges have like a laser engraved backing plate or something, so you can't really customize what they say. So rather than transmission temperature, it's going to say oil temperature. However, that's not necessarily inaccurate because the transmission is obviously driven by oil. So that guy's taking his Corvette on a dirt road. God bless you. So we're gonna go pick up those. We're also getting an hour meter for it. Now, obviously on 76 and onward, they had an hour meter from the factory. It was the kind that had like a little red needle and a little yellow needle and a little white needle. And they either don't work or they work and I don't know how to read them or whatever, but they suck. And the kind that we're gonna get is gonna be a standard kind of like odometer style that shows I think it's 4 digits and then 1/10 of an hour. So that'll just be good for servicing and that type of thing. And it's gonna match the triple gauges along the bottom of the dash. So why is this important? Well, if you've been watching the videos, I think I've mentioned this a couple times. Basically, we have to work from the back of the dash forward because the gauges have to go in before the oil cooler can go in, because once the oil cooler goes in, you can't get into the dash, so to speak, to wire and install gauges and stuff. And then once the oil cooler goes in, then the radiator can go in because the oil cooler goes onto the radiator. That was a loud noise. And then once that goes on, then like the engine can go back in the drive shaft and we can run hydraulics and stuff. So basically, this is kind of like a tipping point where we've done about as much work as we can before final assembly. And now that these gauges are going to be here, we can do final assembly. So, pretty big deal. You know, it's what's today, the 24th today. So we've got 6 or 7 days left in March, and then 13 days in April, basically, because we're gonna drive out the 14th, which means that I don't want to be building stuff on the 14th. I want it to be like on the trailer on the 14th. So we've got just under 3 weeks to get all this done, and I don't think that's really going to be an issue. Find out, I guess. So I'm on my way to class now. After class, it's time to go get some gauges. Yes, sir. Well, welcome to March in Connecticut, or New England for that matter. We've got freezing rain. Wonderful. And it's going to be like 60 next week. Gotta love it. All right. We got him. We got him. Okay. All right. Oh, let's try this with the light. Oil pressure, 201014. Water temperature 201015. And then since they don't make a transmission temperature in this gauge, we got oil temperature instead, 201018. And then an hour meter, 2587. All right, a very underwhelming conclusion to this update. Well, as you can see, yep, the gauges are in, fully wired, functional, you know, everything's done. Tractor's ready to go. Here's the pod, painted, tacky. Can't use it tonight. So that's got to sit and dry overnight. And until the pod goes in, we can't really do anything else. Kyle took the radiator and the oil cooler home with him because he's gonna get them together, as it, so to speak. And then once the pod goes in and the gauges go in and the cooler goes in, then we can just keep on moving ahead. So I'm sorry that it wasn't more productive, but it is what it is. So hopefully the video tomorrow or Sunday or whenever I post it is a lot better.